So yeah, I've got a question related to Big Bang is true. Do you believe that universe has a beginning,
No,
like true beginning?
no.
Okay, so can you elaborate on that? I mean, on your point of view.
I don't really, I'm agnostic on it. I don't believe it has a beginning. I don't believe it doesn't have a beginning.
Okay, and would you agree with because as far as I can see, we've got only three options, like proper beginning, like from 0 point to something, eternal universe, or universe created by some kind of entity. And as I know your worldview, created universe is out of discussion. I mean, it's pointless. So we've got only two possibilities, eternal or from 0 point to something. Would you agree with those three options as possibilities?
I don't know if those are exhaustive, but yeah, sure. Sounds fine.
So if because I know that you don't believe in God, but if we've got those two possibilities, like eternal universe and universe coming from nothing, what option is more reasonable for you
I
if you
don't think
have
the
to
universe
choose?
came from nothing. I didn't, that was one of the options. I didn't know that was one of the options.
Yes, yes. It's like one option is came from nothing, which is like
Oh,
proper creation. Another option is eternal,
oh. Okay. Well, I don't
eternal
think anything
existence.
can come from nothing. That doesn't make any sense, and that's clearly why God creating the universe can't make any sense either, because that's how God creates it. Um, but yeah, eternal universe, sure, why not? An uncreated universe, sure, why not?
Okay, okay. Um, do you know pantheism?
A little bit. The idea that the universe is God and God is the universe.
Yeah, yeah, more or less it would be like, yeah, but we could also say like universe is conscious, intelligent entity after all, but
Yeah, I don't think
it's a
that.
tricky area here. Okay, but the universe gives birth to consciousness and intelligence, right?
Uh, I don't know what there are. There are things in the universe that are conscious and intelligent. But the
Hmm.
universe gives. I don't know. I don't know what that means. It's like saying the Earth is
Yeah,
alive because
it's
the
figure
Earth
of
has
speech.
organisms on it.
Um, in some sense, yeah. But you consider possibility of consciousness and intelligence as a fundamental factor of the universe.
Like idealism. No, I don't think that really makes any
Yes.
sense.
Okay, because all right, but the other side is that consciousness and intelligence, I mean, our consciousness and intelligence came from where? Like, what is the
Brain,
foundation for those?
brain
Yeah,
makes
but
smart.
brain came from. But brain came from.
I don't know what that even could mean. We have brains. They don't really come from anywhere. We are
I
organisms
mean, they are
with
product.
brains.
Brain is a product of evolution, right?
Yeah.
But it seems like evolution is ruled by some principle, right? Principle of evolution, let's say.
Uh, Teleologically, no.
Not theologically, I would say like more physically.
Uh, yeah, I guess in a way you could say that.
Yeah. So, because on the beginning, I mean, beginning. We don't know what's the beginning, but in an early stage of the universe was like hydrogen and helium, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. And now we've got like, well, brain, right? Conscious and intelligent. So the question is, in the frame of cosmological evolution, how helium evolved to conscious brain, after all.
It didn't. Helium nuclei or new atoms are synthesized in stars, and then those new elements combine. Well, they get collected together to form other stars, planets, moons, stuff like that, and then geochemical cycles take place, and then eventually you get biogeochemical cycles that take place, and then eventually you get humans that do stuff like twerk and build SR-71 Blackbirds and drink raspberry lemonade.
Yeah, but you started from stars, but stars they weren't first in the universe. First was helium. I mean, this is what we can at least state, make a statement in a discussion. I don't know what is proper beginning, but helium was first. So the statement that helium evolved is quite correct. Helium evolved to, first you've got gravity collapse, making stars, and so on, and now we've got brain. But first was helium. So the question is, how helium evolved to the brain?
Well, I already answered that question.
Excuse me?
I already answered that question.
You answered it didn't evolve.
Yeah, I said it didn't, but then I gave an extremely brief overview of the process of how the materials that form brains come about. So you can disagree with me saying that it didn't do that, but I laid out, it doesn't matter because I laid out all the steps anyways.
But those steps doesn't reach helium. It starts from the stars, as I understood.
No, it starts with,
right.
So first of all, it's hydrogen, but second of all,
hydrogen, sorry.
Yeah, in stars, hydrogen nuclei and other elements too, but they fuse together. That creates the other elements of the periodic table. So that's how you create the ingredients that make up you, me, my cat, who is on my lap, planets, moons, comets, other stars, all that stuff. So anyways, I already went over that overview a little while ago. So
okay. All right. Because my other question is it reasonable to consider a possibility of that the very beginning of the universe, when there was like only hydrogen, let's say hydrogen and helium, there was some like principle, and I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about the source code or the matrix, whatever you want to call it. But there's some kind of principle which is ruling the whole evolution of the universe. And from the very beginning of the hydrogen to the very end, I mean, not the very end, but to this point, like when we've got a brain, conscious brain, an intelligent brain, is that principle like say basically that in certain conditions consciousness and intelligence arise, and that principle is from the very beginning of the universe. So my question basically is consciousness and intelligence potential on a potential level in the universe, not actual, because on the beginning it's not actual.
I have no idea what that means.
Like potentiality?
I have no idea what that means. When the universe first began existing, was it potential that consciousness would exist? I have no idea what that means.
It's like there was basically a rule or principle which is saying that, yeah, at some point consciousness will arise in proper conditions.
I don't think so, because that sounds.
Let me ask you that question in a different way. Do you think that consciousness is rooted in fundamental level of reality? For example,
No.
I mean, at this point,
I said no earlier. I don't believe in idealism.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but then it means that consciousness... Yes, okay, because there is a problem with that. Because if you're saying that, okay, on the fundamental level, there is no principle which is saying that on the higher level consciousness will arise, then basically consciousness, there is no reason for consciousness to exist if it's not on the fundamental level.
What would be the reason for paper towels to exist if they're not fundamental?
Yes, but who say they're not fundamental? Maybe
paper towels?
I mean, as a possibility.
Oh, God.
As a possibility, yeah. I mean, okay. Is it possible to exist for anything which is not rooted in fundamental level?
Did you know that humans are getting shorter? What does bacon and eggs have to do with the CIA successfully overthrowing the government of Guatemala? Which country has a life expectancy of only 14 years old? Learn the stories behind these and so much more in my new book, Facts That Aren't True. Don't forget about my other book, Rational Answers to Stupid Questions. Link in the description.
So if you're a nominalist, then yeah, this is no problem. There are certain things that are fundamental and other things are just collections of them. So is there such thing as a chair? Well, no, a chair is made of other things like wood. What's the difference between a stump and a chair? Well, one is made or carved deliberately. It's like, okay, well, what if I just take a raw stump, do nothing to it, carry it into my house, and then start sitting on it? It's a chair now, isn't it? The only thing that changed was the way it's used and its relationship to me, right? But I think you probably can boil down and then get to the point where there's something that doesn't reduce to anything else. Now, some people think maybe like the Standard Model, those are the things, they're called fundamental particles. So there's nothing to break down even further. There are physicists that think the wave function is the only thing that really exists. I'm not educated enough to give you more of an opinion on that. I've just heard some of them express that sentiment before. But to then say, oh no, it's consciousness. My problem with that is it explains like literally nothing. It's just a placeholder for, well, yeah, but where does the consciousness come from, for example? And so the only way to have consciousness is for it to be fundamental. Okay, is that a working theory of anything? No. Does it actually explain anything? No. It literally just adds things to all the other stuff we would agree on.
Yeah, but when we're talking about consciousness, and basically all physicalists are saying that consciousness basically coming from the brain, or we can reduce it to the physical processes, but physics itself doesn't contain consciousness. We've got like 4 fundamental principles for the universe.
Because it's
nothing
emergent.
About consciousness.
Yeah, they would say it's emergent. Just like there is no hurricane in the Standard Model. But a hurricane emerges out of parts.
Yeah, but what is hurricane? It's a movement of the air, right? After all, it's we can describe it by law of physics.
In a way, yes. In some other ways, no. Like there are mundane things that the laws of physics can't explain. Like, why does water become turbulent? It cannot be expressed mathematically. So therefore, vortice. I could go to some very odd old Greek idea about like the fundamental structure of matter. They had this like geometric idea. There are also these ideas that atoms are made of particularly shaped things. So I can invoke like the vortex or something as being fundamental. And then I would point to, well, you don't know why water and air become turbulent. Physics can't solve that problem, so therefore I'm right. No, I haven't actually produced anything. When it comes to consciousness being physical, I can't describe to you in terms of like things in the standard model what the substance of consciousness is or what a thought is, but I can with extraordinary there's been an extraordinary amount of work done on the working idea that consciousness is produced physically. So get drunk, take LSD, go on shrooms, be sad, take a railroad spike through the head. All of those things alter consciousness. If consciousness is fundamental, then the idea that you can manipulate something that's not fundamental, the brain, and it changes the conscious state is completely, deeply inconvenient. I would say it's basically disqualifying,
But I think we should make a difference between consciousness and content of the consciousness, because in some ideas it's not the same. Like content consciousness,
that may be fine, but we're just concerned with what is the source of it. So, like, for example, I like a long time ago, nobody could tell you like what a flame like is if it's made of anything. Turns out it's actually not. But we could describe to you like mechanistically, physically, how a flame comes about, right? So.
Okay, but you've, in the case of flame, we've got direct access to the flame. We don't have direct access to consciousness.
Yeah, I do.
No, we don't.
Yeah,
We've got indirect.
I'm doing it right now.
Okay. No, I mean...
Yeah, I am.
For example, I can't be sure that you're a conscious entity.
You don't have access to mine, but I do have access to conscious. All I have to do is be committed to the idea that I'm the only conscious agent in the world, and yeah, it still works.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If you're not conscious, then you just completely blew up your entire argument, because it's like, oh, well, then there's nothing that needs explaining.
I'm not saying that I'm not conscious. I'm just saying that we don't have like direct access to other consciousness people. Like, I don't have access to your consciousness, right?
Then you're being solipsistic about the thing in question rather than being affirmative about the thing in question. It's really not the move for you to go there.
I'm not sure, because the very fact that I can't access your consciousness directly doesn't mean I'm a solipsist. It means just there's some like kind of limitation for my perception in the case of your consciousness.
Right, you don't have access to mine, so I already said this. I could just assume I'm the only conscious agent in the entire world, and everything I think about the way consciousness arises physically still works. Because I could jam a railroad spike into my head, and all of my ideas about what happened to Phineas Gage would still be true about me.
I'm not sure I understand. Could you say it differently?
If I just assume I'm the only conscious agent in the world, a physicalist interpretation of consciousness would still, I could still validate that idea by basically experimenting on myself. I could chug an entire bottle of Boone's Farm wine and watch my inhibitions slowly evaporate.
All right. Okay, let me ask a different question in the case of consciousness, because if you're saying that consciousness is emergent property of the brain, is it classical in its mechanic or quantum in its mechanic? What would you say?
That's a very interesting question. I mean, ultimately, there's really nothing in the universe that either is quantum or is classical or is classic. Even macroscopically, classical was essentially replaced by relativism, or relativity. What it really is what is it best described by? Now, I would say almost certainly that a classical physics model probably does the best job of explaining. It gives you all the resolution you could possibly need to understand it. I don't see where a quantum... People have tried that. They've tried to defend free will by saying there are random quantum events that are part of the way we form thoughts, for example. There are rebuttals to those that I don't remember off the top of my head, but I don't know how that would really help you. Because if we want to understand, if you want to understand the way we form thoughts and have a conscious experience, you're going to want to understand it at scales that are far larger than quantum scales, like so many orders of magnitude beyond that it's actually ridiculous. So I would say classically, but I would actually weirdly
consciousness. Mm-hmm.
Weirdly, I mean, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but I would almost say that probably none of those is even the good answer. I would probably say chemically is the best way to understand it. And to call chemistry classical mechanics, I don't think that's really appropriate because chemists don't use F equals MA, right? Or anything like that. It's more, it's very different.
But as I understand, classic physics endorsing chemistry. It's not like chemistry is separate universe from the physics, right?
Sorry, I had a mouthful of goo there for a second.
Yeah, I saw it.
So what I would say to that is think like medicine, biology, Mm-hmm. Ultimately, if you want like medicine, like for a pharmacist, right? They're developing a drug. Okay. Well, the drug is literally just made out of atoms, and the effect it has on the patient, they're just a sack of meat filled with water. And so it's just a collection of atoms too. So ultimately, physics is the only thing going on there, right? But you don't describe what's happening in equations, which is kind of the way we tend to think of physics, right? Or like if you're studying biology, like you were studying animals, there is no equation for animal behavior. So you don't do it you don't use physics to understand animal behavior. Did we seriously muff a punt? Sorry, I got a football game on here you absolute fucking goober pile. Oh, for fuck's sake. Anyways, so that's what I would say.
All right, because the statement that consciousness is like physical, well, I can ask a question like, is it physical biologically or physical physically? You know what I mean? Chemistry or physics? And it seems like the answer is chemistry, not physics. And it's a little bit strange because physics is more fundamental than chemistry, or I would say physics is higher in hierarchy.
That's not even the question. If it's if it's physical, like I don't. This is actually just doesn't really make any sense. Just because it's physical doesn't mean it can't be described using chemistry. No, chemistry itself is a physical science. It's one of the physical sciences. It's just that it just depends on what you're trying to understand. Like if I was going to, I don't know what to say other than something I've already said before. If I'm going to study animals, I'm not going to do it in equations, even though I know that those animals are just biological robots filled with water for the most part.
Yeah, but at this point, we don't have like a chemical equation for consciousness.
Yeah, I know, but there are other
It's not even
tests.
like
Yeah, I know, but
proper
there are other
science.
tests you can run to gain information consistent with the idea that consciousness is physical. For example, blast a railroad spike through your head. And if you're conscious, if you alter the brain and your conscious experience changes, that's deeply inconvenient for consciousness being fundamental.
I know, but that experiment has a big price. I mean, I could do it, but first
Well,
of all, I would
just
be
get
dead
drunk.
and yeah, but that's the case. I can get drunk and I'm conscious of different state of my consciousness. That's the case. I'm conscious of the change.
Yeah.
So it seems
and
like
we know
there is
that
something in a
alcohol
consciousness.
depresses. We know that alcohol depresses neurological, like chemical signaling. It's literally a depressant. And that is why it does things like slow reaction time, make fours look like sevens, and all that, and make you a really good driver and all that stuff. So this is like, it's totally consistent with a mind being physical.
Yeah, but when I get drunk, then, for example, you can see that I'm drunk, but I can see it as well. I mean, I can be conscious of it. So that means that
so can I.
consciousness itself has a capacity for like metacognition, right? Well, this is basically what's called in neuroscience. So the very fact that I can be conscious, that my content of the consciousness is changed, means, at least for me, that there is something in a consciousness which is fundamental, and because of that, I can point a difference in my own consciousness content when I'm drunk or whatever. You know what I mean?
Not really. We're going in circles, so I think we'll probably have to end it there.
Okay, I understand. So last thing, that's gonna be my last, let's say, topic. I mean, topic gonna be the same, consciousness. But consciousness is the only entity, from a lack of better word, that can explore basically reality. And at this point, consciousness exploring quantum physics, for example, and classical physics. And we are conscious of those two areas and the difference between them. And we are assuming that there is something deeper than this, which is connecting those two departments. So it seems like consciousness, maybe it's not fundamental for the universe, but it's definitely fundamental for science. Would you agree with that?
Sorry. No, because I think you could build robots that do science.
Yes, but those robots are built by conscious entity.
Yeah, but like they aren't
in the first place. Yeah, they don't have to, but in the first place, they were built by us. So consciousness is the origin of those robots.
But if they don't have it, then it's not required.
Yes, but the origin of them is consciousness in a human brain.
That's
I mean, you can't just
Yes, I know.
jump
But
over
they
that
can
step.
do science, and they don't possess that characteristic, so it's not required. The only thing here,
it seems like
the only thing here that consciousness is necessary for so far is building the robot, apparently, which I wouldn't even agree with that, because
like
a robot could build a robot.
No, I'm pretty sure it's not true. I mean, without human being, there would be no robots on the planet. I mean, yeah.
Sure.
So,
but if we built some robots and then the robots killed all of the humans, then the robots could just build more robots and do science, and there's no consciousness, but they're still doing science. Consciousness ceases to exist in the world, and yet they're still doing it.
Okay, I understand that, but it seems like it doesn't change the fact that the origin of those robots was consciousness on the beginning.
Sure.
So it was fundamental.
No, because the robots don't have consciousness, but they are still able to do science.
Okay, now we are in circles. But okay, Anyway, thank you for a conversation.